Welcome to our live stream. Once upon a time, an evil queen cast a curse that trapped everyone in our world, and then the prophesied savior faced the final battle and won. And now the story is about to reset. And excuse me, YouTube viewers, while I repeat myself for Facebook, because I didn't start the Facebook stream, but I had to make the first 10 seconds interesting to keep you here. Once upon a time, an evil queen cast a powerful curse that trapped every single fairy tale character to our world. And then one day, the prophesied savior fought the final battle and won after breaking the curse. And now we're about to reset. Welcome to Once Upon a Time live stream. Okay, anyway. So welcome. Now we got the Facebook audience and the YouTube audience. So anyway, so if you don't remember, we are not starting 10 minutes early anymore for those old people who've been here for a while. I don't think we need 10 minutes to get started, but anyway, I'm going to try to do, we'll do a lot. I mean, I'm still going to give a lot of commentary, but between episodes, after the episodes, before the episodes, I'm going to try to do less talking. So anyway, so yes, I mentioned instead of 6:50, we're starting at 6:58. I tried to start at 6:58 sharp so we could at least have 2 minutes, but started a little bit after that apparently. It's 6:59 now, but it was 6:58 when I started still, so I wasn't a full minute late, just a few seconds. But anyway, so start pulling up once upon a time. You only got 2 minutes. Because I did 10 minutes thinking we needed 10 minutes to set up, but in the past year, 10 minutes has been a little too much because I've been ranting on, and sometimes that's made us late and stuff. So anyway, so I'm just gonna stop ranting before we start the show. I just want to get right into it. Season 7. It's a kind of a rebooted season if you're not aware. It's kind of like a reset. It's almost like its own separate series. The only thing is that it's not a separate series. It's not like other reboots where you like watch let me think of an example of a reboot. Like I think Ghostbusters 4 is a reboot, or a reboot can also be like a remake. It's not like live action Lion King or anything, I mean, Once Upon a Time was always live action, but like it's not like a remake. It's kind of a part. A mostly partial reboot, meaning like it's not a full on reboot. It continues where we left off in the final battle, but at the same time, it is kind of starting all over with a new curse, new characters. Only a couple are returning. It does take place after the final battle, so it is a sequel, but it's also a reboot. It's like let me think. I'll just use a Disney movie for example, like Frozen and Frozen 2. Imagine instead of Elsa and Anna in Frozen 2, we get their kids instead as the main characters, and Elsa and Anna are not in it. Maybe just Kristoff and that's it. Or who imagine Frozen 2 just being Kristoff and Elsa and Anna's kids. Well, some of those kids would be Kristoff's kids too, because I think Anna and Kristoff did get married in the Disney version. But anyway, so I think you have a good idea of what this is. It's not a full-on reboot. It does take place in Once Upon a Time, in the original Once Upon a Time, and it's still part of the same show. It's not season 1, it's season 7. So, but it's a continuation, yet it's also kind of a reset. It's kind of a little bit of both, a sequel reboot. Like anyway, so now that you kind of have an idea of what it's like, yeah, this is pretty much the next generation of Once Upon a Time. So, yes, as you saw at the end, Henry had a daughter in the final battle, right? So it's like Henry and we went from Emma and Henry to mother and son to father and daughter. Henry is now has a kid of his own. So yes, expect most of the characters not to show up in the season. Who is returning? You're wondering. We got the Evil Queen, Rumpelstiltskin, and Captain Hook. So anyway, if everyone has their timestamps open, 44 minutes and 7 seconds is my Disney Plus stamp for season 7, episode 1, Hyperion Heights. If you remember when we watched the pilot over a year ago, we had these title cards that kind of got us started. It was like Once Upon a Time, an evil queen trapped every single fairy tale in our world. This is how it happened, and then we start. It's going to start like that. So that tells you that this is a whole new story, and you do not. And by the way, it's a sequel, but it's reset enough that you don't need to watch the first 6 seasons to understand this. So anyway, so if you're new here, it's great. It's like watching the first episode of a new TV show. If you're old here, it's not a new TV show. It's a continuation. Um, the best way to look at this as even though it's season 7, the best way to look at this is to pretend it's not season 7. Pretend it's its own separate series, because if you compare it to the first 6 seasons, you're probably going to be disappointed. You just got to think of it as its own thing. Um, Hang on, I got a notification I want to get rid of. Bye-bye. There we go. Okay, so we're going to start now. See, I'm ranting even when we start at 6:58 because now it's 7:04. So let's start now. So then that way we're not behind schedule. Yeah, and then we're also doing these on Thursday nights as well, not Sundays anymore. So anyway, I thought for a new story, it would be great to start on a new night, just like they did in Once Upon a Time. It went from Sundays to Fridays. Most of you voted Thursdays though, and that works better for me because I work on Friday nights. So anyway, all right, ready? I'm gonna start the countdown in 3, 2, 1. Hang on, sorry. Wait until I say 0. Don't push play it. Sorry, my cursor moved and the play button turned off right as I said 1. But wait until I say 0. Let me remind you that. I don't push play when I say 1. So when I say 0, everyone push play. 3, 2, 1, 0. Fairy tale characters we know. One day, a powerful curse trapped them in a city which had no magic, and each of them forgot who they really were. This is how it happened. So it's like a pilot all over again. We're in Storybrooke this time, not the Enchanted Forest. So that's a change. Remember, we saw Charming on his horse, and he woke up Snow White the last time. This time, it's Henry leaving home. A little different. We're not waking up from a sleeping curse this time. You guys probably have seen this scene. I sent this was the sneak peek I sent that a few days ago for you prepare you for season 7 of where it's gonna start. And so see, even Henry says we did it. Everyone has their happy endings. The story's over. I need to go find my own story. He even doesn't want to go to college because college got nowhere. So he wants to find his own story. He just graduated high school, and instead of college, he wants to go on an adventure. Well, that's not true. Henry's not the only Henry. We saw Wish Realm Henry last season. I guess he just doesn't know. There's a Wish Realm you. You're not the only you. There's multiple. He went to the Sorcerer's Mansion, and there's multiple characters, like a French Snow White, an Italian Snow White. There's multiple versions of multiple characters. And Henry thinks he's the only version of himself. So that is not true. And he's going to find out later in the season that that's not true. But I know, and that's the only bean he has. That only magic bean he has. If he uses that bean to open a portal, the getting back here will be an invention. That's what he wants to go on. He's tired of living happily ever after. He wants to find his own story, which is what season 7 is all about. Henry finding his own story. So there Henry goes. He left Storybrooke. He left the real world. He's in a new fairy tale land that we've never seen before. A new realm. Years later, now he went from 18 to like 30. He's now a fully grown, mature adult, not just fresh out of high school anymore. And they switched actors since the actor is, you can't automatically age him. He's still 18 in real life. So they replaced him with a new actor. The old actor was Jared Gilmore. This is Andrew J. West. Some of you might know him from The Walking Dead or somewhere else. But this story, he's not a villain. He just crashed Cinderella's carriage. Because the motorcycle definitely scared the horse. Of course they did. They'd never seen a motorcycle before. Yep, that's Cinderella. And here comes our title sequence. Once upon a time in Seattle. We're going from Storybrooke outside of Boston and New York to Seattle, Washington. That's quite a change of locations and changing where they film. Seattle, present day. So all of that was flashback, even meeting Cinderella. And Henry Emma was a Bell's Bonds person who tracked down criminals and got them arrested, and then Henry is just a sorry, a limo driver or something like that. He drives people around the city. Um, he's a car puller or whatever. I don't know what this job's called, but I seen it. We had one take us from the airport to home once when we went to New York and Arkansas. So, as you see, some of the passengers he drove around, you got people from Disneyland, people who are just making out because they're dating, and just people just partying in the background. Henry's having a hard time because he's also an author. He's not just a manure driver. He's also an author, and he's been struggling trying to write a new book. We've seen this at the end of season 6. Remember the same parallel as Emma and Henry, where he says, "Are you Emma Swan? My name's Henry. I'm your son." Now it's, "Are you Henry Mills? My name's Lucy. I'm your daughter." So we go from mother to son and father to daughter. Yeah, Henry didn't write Harry Potter. He didn't write anything since his one book of one. So in his cursed life, Henry wrote he wrote all of the 6 seasons of Once Upon a Time in a book, and the novel did not perform very well. No one wanted to buy it. That's his cursed life. So he wrote one fairy tale, no one wanted to buy it. Yeah, Henry needs to go live his own story. He needs to stop writing everyone else's. That's kind of funny. So Henry obviously doesn't believe in fairy tales anymore, and Hyperion Heights is actually not a real street, and it's not well, Seattle, Washington is real, but like not Hyperion Heights. That's a fictional street. But in the story of Once Upon a Time, it's a real city. It's a real street, and it's a real neighborhood in Hyperion Heights. I mean, in Seattle. Because they did this for season 7, a whole entire reboot. I'm already thinking of taking a trip to Seattle next year. So, also, I'm going to go to Canada, which is where Storybrooke was filmed. So I'm going to go to Canada, but on our way back, we're going to hit Seattle because I'm one of the few that like season 7. The only reason I hate it is because we didn't get enough time with these characters. We should I wish we got 6 seasons with these new characters. But as we all know, just sometimes reboots don't stack as well as the originals. Except this is part of the original series, so it's hard to call it a reboot when it's part of the original series. But like, you've seen shows that are where they separate their sequel series. Like Full House and Fuller House are not the same show. Girl Meets World and Boy Meets World are not the same show. I keep using those examples because I those are the only shows I know that are similar to this. The only difference is that they're 2 separate shows, and Once Upon a Time keeps it the same show because they got renewed for they were planning to end the show, and they got forcefully renewed for a 7th season, so they had to do something, and they just decided to go with a reboot. This is their reboot. Some people are glad it's only 1 season, but, for those some of us who like season 7, we kinda wish there was more. There will be some plot holes because we don't because 1 season's not enough to flesh out new characters. The old characters, on the other hand, 6 seasons was almost too much, I would say. Some flashbacks were a little repetitive, but we could have used at least 3 or 4, I would say, because as we go on, I will mention things that will not never get a flashback for, that would have been nice to see. I will mention things as we go through the show. For starters, so this is Jacinda. She's Cinderella in the fairy tale land, but, like, her cursed life is Jacinda. She works at a food place, she cooks, and her boss is really strict and gets mad at an employee for dropping chicken. And Jacinda tries to stand up for that employee, and the boss, uh, and, and the boss gets mad at her for standing up for him, and now fired her. So I want a flashback of the boss actually. So there's one. We never got a flashback of Jacinda's boss. But then again, this is a little different than Once Upon a than the first 6 seasons of Once Upon a Time, because in the first 6 seasons of Once Upon a Time, every person was a fairy tale character. This one, everyone's cursed in a city, so that means not everyone's a fairy tale character. Because you can't have the whole Seattle, Washington be fairy tale characters. There has to be some real world people in a city. City is bigger than a town, so bigger than Storybrooke. And, as we've been told, a girl named Victoria Belfry is trying to push fairy tale characters out and putting real people in. So who knows? The boss might just be a real world character, but uh, that makes it harder to know who's a fairy tale character and who isn't. Because it used to be easy where you would know every single person's a fairy tale character. The only question was, is Henry's theory true on fairy tales? And you would find out in the season one finale when Emma broke the curse. And you would know the only question then would be, okay, which fairy tale character are each person, uh Leroy's grumpy, Archie's Jiminy Cricket. We found those things out. But anyway, it was nice to know we knew everyone was a fairy tale character. The question was, which fairy tale character were they? This time we have two questions: which fairy tale character were they, and who is actually a fairy tale character? Because some of them are actually not a fairy tale character. Hey, there's the Seattle Needle. I want to go to that. Anyway, so yeah, so it's kind of the curse tries to make itself better by making it more interesting. And by making it more interesting is that you only half of these people are fairy tale characters. You just gotta know which ones are fairy tale characters, and then which fairy tale characters are they. So it makes it even harder to figure it out. Because for one, you might think someone is this person. They might be princess. Uh, they might be. Let's see. Let's give an example of a Disney princess. You might find someone and you think they're Princess Ariel from Little Mermaid, and then you find out they're not, and they're not a fairy tale character at all. Anyway, anyway, that it's harder to figure things out. Anyway, for example, you get used to thinking who cast the curse, and then you get tricked by a plot by a by a plot reveal that it wasn't them. So anyway, so it's going to be even harder to figure out who cast this curse, because we always knew from the pilot it was Regina who cast the first curse, but who cast the curse in this reboot? They make it a little more harder to figure things out. But once you finish the season, you get all the puzzle pieces together, and then you'll figure it out. But this is our last first episode of the season. Speaking of starting the final season, it's our last first episode of the season. No more episode ones after tonight. This is why when my marathon expired and renewed it, I made a new one. Um, I called it the final season because we're literally just doing one more season. So this is otherwise it would barely be over. Otherwise, our marathon wouldn't last longer than a year. It would just be a year. Besides those cancellations, of course, season 6 did push us a few weeks past our year mark, but it originally wasn't going to if I didn't have to cancel a few times for life events. So Victoria Belfry seems to be our new villain of season 7. She's buying up everything, kicking fairy tale characters out. You start to think that she cast the curse, just like Once Upon a Time did with Regina. But the only difference is that there wasn't a lot of plot twists back in season 1, and it was definitely Regina who cast the first curse. And we're talking to her right now, actually. Her first name is Ronnie. But, in this season, they were wanting us to think that this Victoria Belfry cast the curse. And then, it might not be her. Let me just say that without spoiling. It might not be her. You got to think this is trying to be Once Upon a Time 2.0, so it's trying to be better than the first than how the first season started. So Henry, after crashing Cinderella's carriage, is trying to get Cinderella to the ball because her carriage is broken. So he's gonna get her a ride on the motorcycle. This is a new Cinderella twist. When Cinderella is trying to get to the ball, he uses a coach and carriage, usually by the fairy godmother. But in this version, she uses a motorcycle from someone in the real world who came to the fairy tale land. This is which is Henry. So anyway, that's a good twist. She rides to the ball in on a motorcycle. That's a good that's a fairy tale you've never heard of out of because there's multiple interpretations of Cinderella. and none of them mention a motorcycle at all. Cinderella on a motorcycle? Are you kidding me? Even if you do a Cinderella story in a real world setting, usually it's a car and not a motorcycle. So this is a one and only Cinderella on a motorcycle who after almost riding with Henry, she decides to punch Henry out, knock him out, and steal his motorcycle. So there you go. There's one plot hole. Um, the motorcycle's gonna run out of gas. There's no gas stations in Fairy Tale Land, so how does Henry keep that running for years? That's kind of a question. Some people keep pointing that out. It wasn't mentioned when it first aired, but years later, people are mentioning how does he get that motorcycle to run? The only explanation people have came up with is he made it magically gasable, so, like, it never runs out of gas. It always has gas. He makes it a magic motorcycle or something. I mean, when, Pinocchio had the motorcycle, he had to keep filling it with gas, so I wonder how you got it magical. So, anyway, I forgot to mention a couple things. So Lucy stole Henry's laptop and was forced to come to Hyperion Heights to find it, and ran into Ronnie, which they don't know their mother and son, and, Regina, the Evil Queen, and Henry were mother and son, so they don't because they're cursed and they have cursed identities, they just don't know. They're mother and son, just like when we saw Snow White and Emma Swan together, Mary Margaret and Emma Swan. We were waiting for the curse to break so that they would find out their mother and daughter. Wow. So Victoria Belfry reveal if remember, Jacinda is Cinderella, and Cinderella's daughter is Lucy. And so if we're talking about granddaughter, you probably got the hint that Victoria Belfry is the evil stepmother in Fairy Tale Land. And she runs this town, which when I mean, she runs the city, which when it was a town, Regina was the mayor. And so you think that she cast the curse, and that's what I thought too when I watched this first episode. And we'll find out later that that's not the case. Speaking of stepsisters, we got Drizella. What's funny was in Once Upon a Time first 6 seasons, Cinderella's stepsisters were completely different character names from the Disney version. This specifically goes by the Disney version, so which is Drusilla and Anastasia. Once Upon a Time was so centered on Snow White when they started in season 1. This one's centered on Cinderella. And there's already been one version of Cinderella who's appeared on the show, in the first 6 seasons, but, because this is a reset, and they talk about multiple versions, we get a new Cinderella, and plus, Disney does have another Cinderella um, um, irritation, I don't know, what am I trying to say? It's, not the live action Cinderella, but, Disney has another live action has another Cinderella movie, you know, um, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's this, Cinderella movie that Disney made back in the '90s, I think, and it wasn't it was not meant to be a live action remake of the cartoon. It was completely different songs and everything, and, it was basically an irritation of illustration of Cinderella in the world of, like, Black people, like, you have the white version and the African American version of Cinderella. So Disney did make a African American version of Cinderella before, and I think, despite having duplicate versions of the same character, I think that's what they were trying to go with in season 7. They wanted to have a new version of Cinderella similar to that one they made in the '90s, which is not as popular as the classic Cinderella, but still, they have a the remake they tried to make of the classic one was the 2015 one, but this one's kind of an ill and this one's kind of a translation of the '90s Cinderella. Oh, let's see. Um, so yeah, so Jacinda talks about getting fired with her roommate. I can't remember her name. I don't know her cursed name. I know her fairy tale name, but I don't wanna spoil it. Um, Jacinda's roommate. I'm trying to think of her cursed name. I don't remember her cursed name. Hopefully it comes up. Um, but yeah, as you see, Jacinda doesn't live alone. She lives with a roommate anyway. And then, yeah, we met the stepmother in real world. She killed the fairy godmother in fairy tale land. So, yeah, so I mean, the stepmother in Once Upon a Time is a lot more evil than the one on the Disney version. Lucy makes a wish to save, to make things, to have the curse broken or whatever. And yeah, Jacinda just thinks she's wasting a coin, and then Jacinda returns Henry's laptop. So Henry is at the ball watching Cinderella. Henry, you ruined her story. You knocked her carriage over, and you're trying to make up for it. So this is a plot twist. Cinderella does not go to the ball. Mhm. So see, just Cinderella stole Henry's dagger. Mhm. See, this is a plot twist. In the original Cinderella, she went to the ball to fall in love with the prince, and then, she would leave a glass slipper and the prince would find her. That's how the story usually goes. In this version, she doesn't go to the ball to fall in love with the prince. She goes to kill him for what he did to her family, her biological family, before the stepmother and stepsister part. What he did to her biological mother and father. The prince did something. He's responsible for partial their murder. So Cinderella, not Jacinda yet in this flashback. Cinderella is going to the ball to kill the prince. This is new. This is new. This is so grim-like. Um, Henry's trying to convince her not to kill the prince, and and that's another plot twist. Even if she was gonna fall in love with the prince, it looks like Henry's trying to win her heart instead. Which technically Henry is also a prince. He's Prince Henry of Storybrooke. He's the evil queen's son. So I mean, that kind of makes him a prince. Except, for those who are new here or don't know Once Upon a Time at all, Evil Queen is not evil. She had a redemption arc in the first 6 seasons. So anyway, maybe there's a couple things you should know before getting into season 7. So it looks like a waitress at the castle kind of gave Henry a drink that knocked him out. Never drink from strangers. We learned that in season 6 once with Snowy and Charming. So now we're meeting Alice. So we go from Cinderella to Alice in the new reboot. Alice. So this is not the Alice from the Wonderland spinoff, but then again, the writers thought, maybe no one watched that, so let's do a new version of Alice. Anyway, I don't know. I think I like the spinoff series one Alice better. So, oh, Rumpelstiltskin's back. So you know who's coming back so far? Rumple and Regina. I mean, I told you that all three of them, Rumple, Regina, and Hook. So Henry's, you could technically say, is in season 7. He's the new protagonist, replacing Emma, but it's a different actor, so it doesn't feel the same. We got the same as far as same actors go. We got Rumple, Regina, and Hook. So now we just got to meet Hook. So it looks like Jacinda in the real world, Jacinda and Henry are starting to fall in love a little bit. I mean, they're just meeting for the first time, so they're not like I guess falling in love at first sight, but like because they don't believe that in the real world. But like they're just starting their first likable conversation, I guess you could say. Which is funny because if Henry has a daughter, that means they already got married and started a family in the fairy tale land and they just don't remember it. Curse separated them. Well, speaking of the devil, here's the stepmother. Ronnie gets to witness how evil this Victoria Belfry is. Wow. Well, by day drinking, that's how we ended up with Lucy in the first place. Okay, so we've just learned that cursed Cinderella, who's Jacinda, right? Jacinda in the real world has made a lot of mistakes in her life. And despite her trying to be a better person, it looks like her stepmother is not making it easy. Henry, keep your mouth shut. Victoria Belfry will hurt you if you threaten her family. So Victoria Belfry is trying to reason with Henry to stay away from Jacinda and Lucy. Mhm. This is a bad neighborhood, bad street to be on. She's threatening Henry to say, "Hey, hey, go back to your riding, go back home, and stay away from Hyperion Heights. Because if you don't, you'll be sorry you ever stepped foot on this street." Oh man, if only I wish they did do base it on a real street though. That would have been nice to go down. So Henry's trying to go to the cops to find his car because his car is stolen, and cops are not seeming to take it seriously. Some people don't want are not taking it seriously. So luckily, uh, uh, Officer Rogers is in the scene, and he's gonna help Henry find his lost car. So now we got our Captain Hook back in the story. So now you got all the characters we're gonna see. You got Hook, you got Regina, and you got Rumpelstiltskin. So those are the only characters from the main cast that are returning. I guess you could say Henry, but he's a different actor. Um, everyone else is new. We have a main cast of about 10 people in Once Upon a Time seasons 1 through 6, and only 3 of them slash 4 if you count Henry. So only about one third of them are returning. One-way trip, haha. Henry took one-way trip to Fairy Tale Land, and now Alice is trying to convince him to go back home. Forget the Cinderella. Go home. When it's not your story, bad things happen. It's a warning from Alice. When it's not your story, bad things happen. Leave Cinderella alone. It's not your story. It's not your story to tell. It's not your story. It's not your story. Don't ruin it. You Bad things will happen to Cinderella and those you interact with if it's not your story. Yeah, Henry's in a whole new version of fairy tale characters, and it's not his story to be in or something, is what Alice is saying. Bad things did happen, actually, knowing how the show turns out. So Henry should have probably went back home. Well, you would think not because, he ended up marrying Cinderella and had a daughter, so but, there was some twists and turns when that happened. Plot things that I'm not gonna mention for those who are watching season 7 for the first time. How would Lucy be Henry thinks Lucy was the reason his car was stolen. How would Lucy steal a car? She doesn't have a license, she's only 10, she can't reach the pedal. Oh, Lucy really wants, now if you didn't know this was the if you didn't know fairy tales were real, and you were in the situation Henry was in, you could just say Lucy just wants Henry to be her dad, honestly. Oh, shoot. My, laptop's about to die, let me it's still playing, don't worry, I just might need to plug it in. There we go. There we go. Plugged it in so it doesn't turn off. You know because the live stream's not cut off. So Lucy says something pretty interesting. You're waiting for the perfect first sentence, but no story is perfect. It just needs a good start. That's good advice. When you're writing a new book, just know that no story is perfect. It just needs a good start, good hook. Exactly. Jacinda kind of heard the whole conversation, and she's telling her daughter, "Come on, let's live our own story. Leave Henry alone." Yep, leave Henry alone. Let's live our own story, Jacinda and Lucy. Anyway. So just like Storybrooke, whenever they tried to leave town, remember bad things would happen when they crossed the town line? When the curse was broken, it was you would forget your memories all over again. Before the curse, though, just bad things would happen. Um, so same thing in season 7. When you try to leave Seattle, bad things happen. You can leave the street, but you can't leave Seattle, Washington. So see, Cinderella in the flashback was dancing with the prince and tried to prove that she wasn't in love with him and that she came here to kill him. So she brought the knife out, but just before stabbing him, she realized she couldn't do it. She didn't want to be a murderer. Unfortunately for her, her stepmother, unlike the real Cinderella, where the stepmother didn't recognize her stepdaughter at the ball, the stepmother actually recognized Cinderella at the ball and decided to kill the prince for her. And so, as much as Cinderella did not want to kill the prince, it looks like the stepmother did it anyway. And now she's being set up. Hmm. Well, unfortunately, because the stepmother killed the prince instead, she's framing Cinderella for it because no one was watching. She's framing Cinderella. She's telling the guards the stepmother the stepmother is framing Cinderella, telling the guards that Cinderella killed the prince, and only Henry knows that she didn't. So Henry's trying to fight for her life, which hopefully doesn't throw him in prison. he's he's not even from this fairy tale land. Imagine him being stuck in this realm because he tried to help the murderer escape. Cinderella's not the murderer, though. The stepmother is. That's a plot twist. She could have gone through with it, but she decided not to. So, the stepmother, she's just evil like that. She just wants Cinderella to get framed for things she didn't do. Henry is about to betray Jacinda's trust um by telling Victoria where they went. She talked about a place with Henry at the bar that she wanted to take Lucy to, but so there's this island in Seattle that Jacinda wants to raise Lucy on, and keep their family over there. And she told Henry about it, and Henry gave up their location of the island to Victoria, which is Jacinda's worst enemy, his stepmother. So Henry betrayed Jacinda's trust. So he cared too much about his card to care about his and fairy tale wife who he doesn't know who he doesn't know. Uh, Unfortunately, before they could escape, the step you know Jacinda's stepsister, Ivy is Drizella's first name. Ivy came with Rogers and stole Lucy back before they could run to the island. Oh, ouch! I hit my elbow. Anyway, the truth hurts more than fiction. That might be true. See, this is a new book. This is kind of a new book. Like we're used to Henry's brown rectangle book, but this is a square white Once Upon a Time book. So this is the book Lucy has. It's a little different than what Henry had as a kid. Look. Oh, not yet. Dang it. They're not going to show us. Hook finds a picture of somebody and recognizes their face, but oh well. Oh well. She didn't look. The audience they didn't show the audience. You'll find out what Hook was looking at in a second. You probably have a good idea if you saw the first 6 seasons. Alice is watching. Look, she's hiding. She's listening to their conversation. Jacinda and Henry are. Jacinda's ta- Jacinda ta- Jacinda talks to Henry about why did you betray me? Blah 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 blah. Henry did not ask to be in Jacinda's family drama. True, but Henry could have just not kept confidential information where confidential information is needed. Could have kept it secret. But anyway, Tilly is watching from a distance. Tilly is Alice's first name. Well, after Henry helped in flashback, after Henry helped Cinderella escape the ball, I never thought you'd say that. I mean, she did escape, but not really. Like she just left in the Disney version. Here, she actually escaped because she got framed for murder. Um, Henry went to go find her after helping her escape, and well, didn't find her. So the portal back to Storybrooke has opened up, and well, just before he was going to go back to Storybrooke, he decides to stay in the fairy tale land to find Cinderella because she left a glass slipper. He's deciding not to go home, letting the portal close. Operation Glass Slipper is a go. Remember, he loves operations. He was a kid who loved Operation Cobra, Operation Firebird, Operation Mixtape, Operation Cobra Part 2. He's known for having operations, and so he's calling this one Operation Glass Slipper is a go. So, after Hook helped Ivy locate her step niece and give her back to Victoria, and take Lucy away from Jacinda, which must be hard for Hook because he prefers to be a team player, not work for the enemy. Anyway, Hook has a new detective partner. He's a police officer, but he has a detective partner, and it's It's Rumple, but his first name is Weaver, Detective Weaver, and Officer Rogers working together. Captain Hook and Rumpelstiltskin, old enemies, now partners and friends. Because even before this curse, Hook wasn't an enemy anymore. He was a friend to Rumple. They both got redemption arcs in the last 6 seasons. So this used to be a neighborhood. I want to be quiet as Regina gives this hope speech, but in this neighborhood, people used to be scared of standing up to Victoria Belfry. They used to prefer being bullied around because they were too scared to stand up for themselves. But as of Henry and Jacinda standing up for Victoria Belfry today, everyone else has seen that example and it's inspired by it. They're standing up to Victoria. So now Victoria's losing. She's losing. Like, good versus evil, she's losing now. Ronnie, aka Evil Queen, aka Regina, is standing up for Victoria and saying, "No, you can't have my bar. I'm not. If I sign this contract, it is yours, and I'm not going to sign it." She rips the contract. Says, "Haha, this is my bar, my home. You can't have it." Good job, Ronnie, for standing up for yourself. Jacinda, it feels bad for quitting. She's begging her boss to hire her back on, and her boss agrees. So at least Jacinda got her job back. Just because life isn't not where you want it to be doesn't mean you should tear it down. That's true. So Henry's trying to find. We found out when he was talking to Lucy that Henry did have a wife and daughter, and that died in a fire, and so Henry's trying to find their graves, and he can't find the cemetery. He just finds a road, which is not true, by the way. That's just his cursed memories. He didn't have a wife and daughter that died, but that's what the curse wants him to think. So then that way he doesn't fall in love for Jacinda and Lucy because that's not his wife and daughter. But that doesn't really stop him from falling in love because he could just move on even if he did have a wife and daughter that died. You know, that's what Ronnie just said. Even if we don't get a happy ending, we can at least fight for it, and that's halfway of getting it. Sometimes you just need a little inspiration. Sometimes in order to have hope that for a better future, you just need a little inspiration. Jacinda's inspired to make a wish to hopefully get her daughter back after Henry just betrayed her and Victoria took her away. Jacinda's wishing her daughter back. And the first step to a new beginning. So did you get that? The first step to a new beginning is to think one that's ever possible. So don't mind me if I stand by and let a bully like you take that away. Ronnie, who's a bar owner, right? She's saying, regret's not really my thing because she's like, I'm not going to let a bully like you take things away anymore. I'm not going to let you take my bar. I'm going to be the first one to stand up because that's what Victoria's been doing. Is that she's been kicking fairy tale characters out and making new ones come in, making real world people come in. So anyway, we're gonna start the next episode, but I just want to finish my thought here. Um, so anyway, Victoria it was really good at pushing fairy tale characters out, but as of Henry and Jacinda today, that's about to change. Being inspired by them, people are now going to step up to Victoria Belfry and saying, "You can't kick me out of this city or this street, because I love it here." Blah blah blah. So good for Ronnie for standing up. She's not going to let a bully like Victoria get in the way of what she loves doing. She loves owning a bar apparently. But anyway, Victoria's like, you're gonna regret this, Ronnie, and regret's not really her thing. So that's the end of that episode. Anyway, we're gonna move on to the next one now. It's called A Pirate's Life, Season 7, Episode 2. This one we're gonna find out how Hook got here, because now we know how Henry got here. He decided to leave home and and on his journeys as an adult, fell in love. He ran into Cinderella. So now we're gonna find out how Hook got here, as you can tell from the title, A Pirate's Life. Um, just wanted to see. No comments. Okay. Just wanted to check before we start the next episode. Okay. All right. All right. So we're gonna start episode 2. So for 43 minutes and 48 seconds, I believe. Let me go back. Let me rewind it. Okay, no, 43 minutes and 49 seconds if you watch Disney Plus. DVD, something else, right? Just make sure you pause the episode before it says previously on Once Upon a Time. Um, okay, so we're gonna start A Pirate's Life. So a little more on Captain Hook and what he's doing here. If for those who don't know, he married Emma Swan in the last 6 seasons, and when we watched this, it was kind of upsetting that Emma wasn't with him, and so we're gonna find out why Emma's not with him, why they're not, and why or why not, or why are how are they living happily ever after at this point when Emma's not here, right? They kicked out our protagonist, replaced her with Henry, and so what happened with this, right? We're gonna find out. Okay, ready? When I push 0, let's all push play. 3, 2, 1, 0. Season 7, episode 2. Previously on Once Upon a Time. By the way, while we're recapping what we just watched, I'm gonna tell you I did not wear my Storybook shirt because we're not on Storybook anymore. We might have had one Storybook scene at the beginning of the first episode, but that was just Henry leaving. So no more Storybook. I don't have a Seattle shirt, and I'm probably not going to get one until next year anyway. So unfortunately for us, nothing for Seattle. When we have a bunch of stuff for Storybook. Storybook years ago. This is back before Henry left town, before he graduated high school. We're going back in time again. Henry and Hook are fighting on the Jolly Roger. Hooyah! 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 Yeah, Henry does fight like Charming, doesn't he? Emma Swan. So Emma and Hook are trying to have a baby of their own, and they haven't been able to work it out yet. And Emma's a little upset because she abandoned Henry when he was born and didn't meet him until he was 10 years old and had to face consequences of abandoning her first child. And now that she's married to Hook, she wants a second chance at a child. And fortunately, they haven't been able to make it work. So, Hook has a way to make things less terrifying because Henry's about to leave home and they don't have a child. And they can't have a child. Hook is giving Emma some hope that maybe one day they will. And if you ever want to see Henry again, if you ever need help, another round years later, if you ever need help or you need help, you just put a message in a bottle and drop it into the water, and before you say yo ho ho, the person will come and help. Henry can come back and help you. Anyway, see, there's the bottle. And there's our Once Upon a Time sequence. It's a swan in the middle of Seattle. What's a swan doing in the middle of Seattle? It was nice to see Emma back, huh? Unfortunately, this is her only episode, so don't think she's one of the characters coming back because she's not. Henry's our new protagonist. No, not Emma. So plot twist. Hook was looking at a picture of Emma and is wondering more about her. So yeah, that used to be your wife once. Anyway, so yeah, we did watch Emma and Hook together just recently too, when Henry was being a child and fighting and trying to practice sword fighting. So anyway, he's yep, he did. We all know he left home, but luckily Hook's been there to assure Emma that he's all right. We got to see that bottle pay off in flashback when Henry's an adult and he's in the fairy tale land after helping Cinderella escape. He gets captured by Lady Tremaine and he uses the bottle, like Hook said, to uh, ask for help and said Emma, Hook, and Regina. Anyway, hmm Victoria, it threatens Jacinta, saying if you want to see your daughter again, you have to earn a second chance. You can't just be given it. Oh boy. So yeah, speaking of flashback, here's Lady Tremaine locking up Henry in Cinderella's tower. This is where Cinderella used to sleep. Cinderella must never see that man again. Well, I don't think that's true, given the fact they're in the real world. We know, that's the hard thing about flashbacks is if someone's alive in present day, you'd know they don't die. So makes it less interesting for like Drusilla wanting to kill Henry. Luckily, before Henry was forced to answer, um, the magic bottle that Henry sent um, got Emma and Regina here just in time. Technically, because of the wedding last season, Hook Hook is technically Henry's stepfather. So Henry has two fathers now. Two mothers, two fathers. Where's your other mom? Yeah. Where's Emma? Why didn't she come? Yeah. I just got given dinner. hmm Emma didn't want to come. There's a big reason why, but we're not going to talk about it now. Well, first day working with Detective Weaver and Rogers. The new guy drives. How funny. I mean, for Hook to be a cursed officer, he can't have a hook in his hand. That would be suspicious. You would need a fake hand. Henry just had a fight. You betrayed my trust. I don't trust you anymore. Blah blah blah. Yeah, Henry wants to help get Lucy back, but Jacinda, just like Cinderella, she's not a damsel in distress. They, she's she can get her child back on her own. So like that's good. The thing with Once Upon a Time is unlike Disney, they try to make their Disney princesses not damsels in distress. They're fighting warriors. We saw that with Snow White. We've seen that with Cinderella. I mean, yeah, that is true. A therapist has confidentiality things they have to go by, and that's what Honey's doing about her bars. So the bars kind of because we don't have Jiminy Cricket in this show anymore. We have Ronnie to be um the still small voice of confidence. Oof. So Weaver probably kills his partners. That's what that's what we saw in episode one. Oh, here we go. Mhm. Yep. Unfortunately, so now never wish from Captain Hook. He was fat and old in season 6. He's still fat and old in season 7. Unfortunately, when Henry made a wish in a bottle and sent Regina and Hook, he accidentally sent it to both Captain Hooks because the wish realm has another version of Captain Hook. So wish realm Hook knocks our Hook out and tucks tucks him away so no one can find him. And he's going to try to take his place. Well, I think Emma could realize it's not her husband because you're old and gray and fat. So how are you going to take his place? Huh? Huh. I would be scared working with Weaver because he gets rid of all his partners. And I don't want to die by his hands. So it looks like he stabbed Captain Hook and stole some of his blood, not kill him, but like made a cut on him just to take his blood because they have the same blood in their veins. They're the same Captain Hook, just from different realities. He wants that Hook's blood to make him young. So the stepmother, Lady Tremaine, wants to help Captain Hook out, the Wishrom Hook. He's a villain in this story. So they have a deal. Hook will get Henry to go home if Lady Tremaine makes Hook young again. Oh yeah. Oh, that's the Hook we know and love. Plot twist. So Jacinda has a way of seeing Lucy again without paying $550 for a ticket. She wants to work as the bartender employee at her dance recital, and well, who's going to set them up? Henry. So it looks like Jacinda can't avoid Henry after all. Hook and Rumple. Looks like Rogers, Officer Rogers, and Detective Weaver investigating Henry's home apartment. No, no, Henry thinks they died, remember? But that's what the detective would say, "Probably divorce." Uh-huh, mhm. Looks like Weaver's threatening Rogers. He's like, if you're a are you a good detective or a bad one? And I'm about to test to see if you're a good detective or a bad one. If you're a bad one, I'm gonna kill you just like my other partners." So that's what puts Rogers' life on the line. Aw, Lucy's happy to see her mother as a bartender. I don't know if I would be happy about that. That's the only way to see her. Aw, again, I forgot her name. Jacinda's roommate. What's her name? Did you guys catch it? I did not. I can't remember it. I keep wanting to call her by her fairy tale name, but I don't want to spoil it because her fairy tale name hasn't been mentioned yet. Um, so okay, Rogers and Weaver are leaving Henry's house, and Hook decides. I mean, Rogers decides to take. I keep wanting to call them by their fairy tale name. Rogers decides to take Henry's keychain with a swan on it. Oh yeah, I forgot the thumbnail was a swan. Emma's barely in it. She was in the first scene. That was it. Henry's trying to know how everyone is in Storybrooke, and that's why he's asking Gina, his mother. Like every mother misses their child. So remember, Wish Realm Hook has replaced our OG Hook and is trying to take his place, and he made a deal with Lady Tremaine to convince Henry to go home. So he's convincing Henry to go home because Jacinda is not no longer interested. I mean, Cinderella is no longer. Now I'm mixing up fairy tales. Okay, uh, fairy tales with their curse names. This is flashback, so I should be calling her Cinderella. Cinderella, she made a fake note, think having Henry think Cinderella's not interested in him anymore. This trip was an absolute failure. Oh, Henry. Hook was just about to sit down and enjoy himself. Little does Regina and Henry know that Hook is really just trying to destroy Henry's life. Hmm. It's like having a heart broken, right? You fall in love with someone and they break your heart. Not his first heartbroken, he broke up with Violet, and not in the show, but his first crush, Violet, there's a book about their love affair and breakup, so, now you know why Henry doesn't marry Violet. Anyway, if you read the book, we're not gonna do books in our marathon, so since this is not the Hook that's married to Emma, haha, he's about to give up his cover because, Henry, um Henry, Henry's realizing something's off about this Captain Hook, and he's about to find out that it's not really his stepdad because Hook, because he doesn't even know what happened to Emma. Looks like Emma found her way to the fairy tale land after all and decided to see Henry. Did you think we were never going to see her again? You were wrong. She came back. Did you think she was just going to be in the flashback Storybrooke scene? No. He's looks like wow. Imagine the last time you see your child is when they graduate high school, and then you don't see them again until they're 30. That must be a shocker to Emma seeing her son as a full 30-year-old adult. Mhm. Killian? So anyway, Emma is now realizing that's not her husband. Mainly because Hook didn't blow his cover. It's mainly because, Wishrealm Hook, as Emma was talking to Henry about always finding each other and never giving up on hope and always being honest and truthful you know, and then Hook realizing I don't want to get between a mother and his child. And he creates an excuse to go fix something. So anyway, the Hook has regrets of taking other Hook's place. Anyway, Weaver's about to test Hook. I mean, test Officer Rogers to see what kind of man he is. I hope he pass the test because we don't want to see him become another candidate under drowning in water, like in the first episode. Anyway, nice dance. It's nice for Jacinda to finally see her daughter Lucy dance in the ballet without paying $500 for it. Wow, and Officer Rogers and Henry are there. Weaver's there. Wow, everyone, the three characters that are returning for this season are here to watch their child, grandchild, and oh, okay, Regina's not there. Never mind, Ronnie's not there, but that's kind of cool. Everyone's watching Lucy ballet. My sisters used to be a dancer. They used to be in ballet until they got older and decided they didn't want to do it anymore. So Hook versus Hook. Apparently, um, Hook didn't stay stashed away for long. He got out, he woke up, and was ready to attack Hook. So, plot twist, Wishram Hook has a daughter. He may have never fallen in love with an Emma Swan, but he has a daughter. And so that's almost just as healing as not being able to fall in love with someone. And so anyway, and it's kind of funny, when he mentioned Emma Swan, that was the only time Victoria Vale ever even heard of her. So anyway. So it looks like Rogers didn't want Henry to be framed for Victoria's bracelet, so he decided to drop the Henry's keys in there instead of Victoria's bracelet. So now, hopefully, Weaver knows what kind of man Rogers is and is okay with it. What a scheme! So yeah, so again, back to Hook. Hook has a daughter, um, and he's trying to find her. And when he thought he could take someone else's place, he was wrong, and he didn't want to get between a mother and his child. So he knows from experience. Obviously, he has a daughter. So who that daughter is, you'll find out later in the season. Oh, it looks like Emma was a little concerned with how Hook was acting back at the loft over there. So Emma decided to follow Hook over here, and yes, now she knows that she was, and now that she knows that that wasn't her when she was talking with Henry. That wasn't really her husband. Anyway, yes, Emma. You may have restored the happy endings. You may not be a savior anymore, but that doesn't mean you don't have magic. Especially since you didn't use the scissors like Aladdin did. So you might still have your savior magic. And just because you're in a different fairy tale land doesn't mean you can't use it. You should believe in magic. Find a way. Find a way. Find a way to use your magic. Heal this Hook. This is why you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. This is why you shouldn't just jump into things, because our Hook, the one that married Emma, thought the other Hook was coming back to kill him. And he didn't even have a chance to let him explain himself. So before you jump to conclusions, let have this be a lesson to actually hear someone else. Hear their whole story before you jump to conclusions. And so yeah, Hook, Emma's husband. We're gonna just say Emma's husband because it's hard to distinguish the new ones, right? From the old. Emma's husband now regrets trying to kill the once fat Hook. So anyway, so now luckily Emma followed them and is there to heal fat Hook. Well, he's not fat. He's skinny and young again because of Victoria, because of Lady Tremaine. But anyway, you know what I mean. So I bet you know what's gonna happen now. I bet you know why Hook is not with Emma. Because this might be the same actor. This is the opposite of Henry. Henry, same character, different actor. But here we have same actor, different character. I mean, similar character, same story, same Captain Hook, same backstory, character backstory, just the Regina's curse difference. So anyway, I bet you know this is Wishram Hook. This is not the Hook we knew fell in love with in seasons 1 through 6, or 2 through 6, because he wasn't in season one. So now, again, remember how people are starting to stand up to Victoria Belfry because of Jacinda and Henry? It looks like Weaver learned something from them too. So he's standing up to Victoria and he says, "You do not control me. You do not own me. And if you don't be careful, you could be locked away." Anyway, so someday my prince will come. That's Snow White. Anyway. Yeah, Jacinda picked up a late shift. She has to get to work at the food place she works, where we've only seen her boss in the first episode. So and now Henry's wondering how Emma and Hook are doing. Emma's here to give him good news, obviously, we know Emma's pregnant now. She finally got pregnant. She couldn't get pregnant at first, but years later, as Henry's older, she finally got a miracle. You know, sometimes you can't have children, but then if you pray hard enough, you can have a miracle. We will get to see that baby swan eventually. Eventually, Emma's not in the season, so yeah. But when the show got its cancellation, she came back for the series finale. So we'll see her in the end. Aw. For those who love Captain Swan, I'm afraid this is your goodbye episode. You won't see them at all for almost the rest of the series. Almost, because she does come back in the series finale. But anyway, so yes, I gotta say this. So yes, you could almost say I lied that only Rumple, Regina, and Hook were coming back to the show, but I am still telling the truth here because I'm talking about characters that are series regulars that are going to stay on the show. Canon characters. Emma's not going to stay. She just comes back for one episode. If we want to talk about characters who come back for one episode, there is more characters that come back for one episode. But but that's just for them to say their final goodbye. That's it. They're not here to stay. Emma wants Hook to team up with Henry. Yep. Storybrooke awaits. Oh no, let's not say goodbye to Emma and Hook yet. No. Regina's leaving too? We know she does. We know she stays. What are you talking about? It's hard for Henry to say goodbye to his mothers again. They just came to visit only for one night. Oh, yeah, Regina's story isn't over. I mean, she did lose Robin Hood and she wanted a fresh start. And so anyway, maybe she needs to find true love again. Her happy ending isn't a man though. I mean, Henry is all the happy ending she technically needs. See, this is the new operation, Operation Next Chapter. It's obviously, it's also Operation Glass Slipper. Either way, Operation Next Chapter. Time to move on from our previous seasons and moving on to a new book, a new chapter. As a new book opens, we're opening a new book. Goodbye, people. Right? Emma gives Henry one last kiss. Luckily, Regina changed her mind, so at least Henry's gonna have one mother with him. I hate to have all of Henry's parents leave. Luckily, that's not. And Hook being a stepdad and all. Um, even though the Hook that is staying is not his stepdad, it's still the father figure for Henry. So there you go. You got at least one set of his parents, kind of, because Hook is not really his dad. The Wishram Hook, and the other Hook is his stepdad. Emma and Hook smile. They walk through the portal. They're back in Storybrooke. That's all for Emma Swan, guys. Bye. Hi, Emma. Anyway, bye, Emma Swan. Captain Swan. Time to ship some new couples, right? So whether you're an Outlaw Queen or a Rumbell or a Captain Swan, time to pick your new ships. How do you ship Cinder Henry? How do you like I'm trying to think. What's another couple on the show? Tiana Naveen. How do you like Alice Robb? Huh? How do you these are the new ships you need to ship for this season. I know that doesn't make sense because I have these characters. Some of these characters I just said are not introduced yet, like Alice, Rob. Who's Alice's boyfriend, right? Not even a boyfriend. Let's see. And then the nickname I just came up with for The next name, what is it? What was the other ship couple besides Cinderella and Henry? We know that one. There was another one I just came up with. Can't remember what it was. Oh, Tiana and Naveen. Haha, yes, Tiana's coming in once upon a time. You haven't seen that one yet. Oh, oh, wait. I know, Prince Naveen's first name. Drew. Dang it, what's Tiana's? Oh, well, whatever. I don't know Tiana's first name, and why can't I do not remember it, honestly. So, remember how Henry has fake memories of his wife and daughter dying in a fire? Hook's fake memories is that he once met a woman who, who healed his wound, and, doesn't make sense in the real world for someone to heal your wound, right? And so, anyway, Hook wants to find this woman that he saw on his deathbed, and little does he know that that was Emma Swan. He thinks it's someone else. Still, the cold case girl he's gonna try to find in Seattle. So it won't be Emma Swan, that's for sure. She's gone. Anyway, before worrying about the cold case, Officer Rogers wants to focus on Victoria Belfry and trying to bring her down. So they want to bring Victoria Belfry in hopes that someday Hook can find the missing. I mean, Officer Rogers can find the missing girl he once knew. So yeah, okay. So Ronnie is in this team up too. Look, you got Henry's old friends back together, except for Weaver. Weaver should be in this team too. But you got Henry's old friends from seasons 1 through 6 teaming up together. I mean, Hook and Regina at least. They're all going to team up to take down Victoria Belfry. What a start to this! What another start to the season because this was the end of episode 2, right? Wow, things are just building up, or not building up. They're just kicking off. They're starting, and so anyway, um, so yeah, every things are starting up, things are kicking off with this new season, right? First, we say goodbye to, we get to see how Henry got here, falling in love with Cinderella. We don't get to see how the curse was cast, obviously, but unlike the, unlike the pilot, right, where we saw the curse cast, we don't get to see that in Hyperion Heights, right? But we do get to see the start of Henry's story of leaving Storybrooke and finding Cinderella, and then and then we get to see Henry meet Lucy for the first time in Seattle, and then kind of the same situation where Lucy believes in fairy tales, Henry doesn't. Lucy tries to get Henry to believe, but it's not working. Anyway, everything just starts off on a great rebooted note, and then we get to we get even more in episode 2. We get to see how Regina left town, and Hook, and how Hook is without Emma, and that's by replacing him with the Wish Round Hook, who never married an Emma. So yeah, that's great. Beat around the bush, right? And so anyway, we get to see how Hook and Regina joined Henry, and got to get a final goodbye from Emma Swan. She was the main protagonist and star of the show before season 7, so she deserves a proper goodbye, unlike the rest of the characters, right, that are not here anymore. So anyway, it was again a nice setup, a nice start to season 7, right? There, the I don't know if people watching right now are half divided. Maybe some of you like where season 7's going so far. Some of you don't, but I'm glad you're still here for the ride. We're gonna watch one more episode, obviously, because we do 3 episodes a night as usual. So season 7, episode 3, last episode of the night. It's called The Garden of Forking Paths. We go from Hyperion Heights to A Price Life and a Garden of Forking Paths, like a path that splits into two. Anyway, we'll get to actually meet a new princess this episode as well. 44 minutes and 9 seconds if you're watching Disney Plus. Otherwise, just make sure you put pause the thing before it says previously so we can all start at the same time. Before I do, as usual, I'll check the comments. No comments. Okay. Okay. No comments. Gotcha. I did get a like on YouTube though. That's nice. Okay. So, all right. Um Again, every episode so far has started with one Storybrooke scene at the very beginning. This one will be our first episode with no Storybrooke scene because we've already set up the season now after 2 episodes. So I hope you've had your fun saying goodbye to Storybrooke as well, not just Emma Swan. Okay, and no more Jared Gilmore as Henry Mills. All right, here we go. Okay, when I say zero, everyone push play. Three, two, one, zero. Gravy sandwich one time. I'm Lady Lucy. I'm your daughter. Yeah. Now remember, while this recap is playing, I need to remind you. Um, we used to do a Q&A thing at the end after 3 episodes, or and then halfway through the series, we used to just because no one really left questions for me to answer. Um, we usually just talked our way through 15 minutes at the end. I've also mentioned as far as changing our marathon to Thursdays, we're not going to talk 15 minutes at the end. The live stream will end after this episode. So keep in mind that we're not going to talk too much at the end. As usual, when we finish an episode, I have final thoughts, but it's only going to be like a minute or two. So our live streams are no longer 2.5 hours. They're more like 2 hours and 5 minutes because we start at 6:58 and then we end at like probably maybe a couple minutes past 9:15. So we're gonna try to make it shorter. Oh, I guess wait, that's actually not 2 hours and 5 minutes. That's like probably 2 hours and 20 minutes, I'd say. And usually our live streams are 2 hours and 40. So we're just gonna make it shorter for this rebooted season. So Cinderella did show up at her broken down carriage. Remember when Henry went there? He couldn't find Cinderella after helping her escape. So anyway, but Cinderella left the glass slipper. So that's what we're seeing right now in the flashback. Cinderella beat Henry to the carriage and left the glass slipper for him. And guess what our title sequence is? It's a carriage. So it's definitely Cinderella focused. We know the Swan met Emma Swan. And then season oh no wait. No, the carriage was season 1 episode no. Sorry. The carriage was season 7 episode 1. Swan is episode 2 and I think now we actually just saw a tractor. Uh that used to dig holes and make buildings. So yeah, it was a tractor, not a carriage. Let me see. Now I don't know. Oh yeah, it's not a carriage. I don't know what I was thinking. It's a tractor. It's a tractor, the one they used to make buildings with. They dig holes in the dirt to make foundation. Anyway, tractors. So we go from carriage, swan, tractor. Our 3 thumbnails. Well, Ronnie's the bar is closed, but but Henry's part of the group as we just saw at the end of episode 2. At the end of episode 2. So, yeah, Henry's gonna help bring Victoria Belfry down, and they're gonna talk privately before they open the bar. I mean, that's bad. It's illegal. What are you talking about? It's a good story. It's a good story on Victoria Belfry, but a bad thing to do. Well said. Henry kind of embarrassed himself. Kind of things I do when I get nervous. Stake out. You know? That's probably the only thing I like about being a cop is the fact that sometimes when you're trying to catch a criminal and you get a stakeout, you just sit in your car and wait until they enter the room or something. Can get boring, but and I used to do that as a bail bonds person. Yeah, I mean, Henry did bring donuts to this private meeting on Victoria Belfry, so yeah, look, it's a garden. It's Lucy's favorite garden. Things are finally growing when they used to not be. Anyway. So, we learned a lot about Cinderella. Apparently, Lady Tremaine hired the prince to kill Cinderella's father. And wow. So here's our new princess. Tiana has finally made it into the show. Um, she was once a princess, but before but after that, she made a resistance because Lady Tremaine, this is a little mix of Princess and the Frog and Cinderella here. Lady Tremaine ruined Tiana's life, ruined her restaurant, everything you could think of from the Disney movie, and Tiana has been wanting revenge ever since. Not in the evil way, you would think. But like she made a resistance to stop the stepmother from whatever she's doing, and yes, it looks like plot twist. The prince wasn't acting alone when he killed Cinderella's father. So I mean, yeah. So anyway, and Cinderella knows this, so she's gonna join the resistance to stop her stepmother from killing anyone else and breaking any more families apart. And so anyway, we know how that went well. Everyone's cursed now, so I probably failed somehow. Anyway, anyway, and yes, and Cinderella's leaving a glass slipper for Henry to find her. So there you go. That's how Henry found the glass slipper, and she stole the motorcycle again, and she's taking Tiana with her. Never seen two princesses on a motorcycle before. That's something you won't see on any fairy tale, other than Once Upon a Time. It's not something you see every day. Two fairy tale princesses on a motorcycle. Anyway, and it's nice to know Tiana knows that Cinderella didn't kill the prince. So yeah. So what has happened in present day since I've been talking about the past? Um, let's see. We have Victoria threatening Jacinda to destroy Lucy's favorite garden and build a condo, which Jacinda's not happy about. And then on the Hyperion Heights, Officer Rogers and Detective Weaver um, are on a case. And Officer Rogers is watching Victoria Belfry talk to a businessman. Well, actually, Officer Rogers is the only one on a case. Detective Weaver has no idea what Officer Rogers is on. and is also spying on Officer Rogers. So you have a double detective going on here. Officer Rogers detecting on Victoria and who she's talking to, while Detective Weaver is being a detective on Officer Rogers to see what he's doing. Hmm. So yeah, so apparently the rules in Seattle are this: if you want to if you want to save something from being destroyed, you just got to get the whole community involved, and then and then the city has no is by law not allowed to destroy it. Anyway, so in order to save the garden that Lucy loves, Jacinda has to start a petition and get the whole community to sign it, because then Victoria can't destroy it. So there you go. Talk about the city charters, huh? It used to be the same with the town charters when Regina wasn't allowed to make city mayor without a vote. And so, anyway, same thing here. Victoria can't just build a condo if the community doesn't want her to. So there you go. So she's starting a petition. Hey, speaking of petitions, I posted, not in our Once Upon a Time Facebook group, but on YouTube, I posted a petition for The Way Home, which is another TV show I watch, and it involves time travel and mothers, grandmothers, and daughters. Anyway, I don't want that show to be canceled, so if you can sign the petition for them to renew it, that would be great. Speaking of petitions, just wanted to throw that out there. It's called The Way Home. You can probably find a petition online. Um, I could probably give you a link, but it's unrelated to what we're watching though. Hang on. Let's see what's been happening as I'm talking about that. So okay. Cinderella and Tiana are teaming, are trying to find a way to break into the castle and to defeat Lady Tremaine. But then, obviously you have Henry's old folks from Storybrooke interrupting, and Cinderella gets to meet Henry's mom and not stepdad, but you know what I mean, the Captain Hook that he's friends with. So anyway, now the only question is, how did Rumpel get here? That's the only thing we don't have answered tonight. We'll find out next week for sure. Um, I keep getting notifications. Yeah, yeah, that's kind of silly to have a 10-year-old kid in a bar, isn't it? I'm like, that shouldn't be happening. Hmm. I like how Lucy's acting right now. Henry's like, she's like, I'm just here to help your mom save the garden. And I'm like, I get it. I understand. It's the truth, Lucy. Don't have any ideas that we're going to get together with your mom. But yeah, yeah, I know. Silly. I like this child. There's something buried under the garden of Seattle. So, huh. I mean, that's true. Snow White's coffin was underground when we were in Storybrooke, but this is Seattle. I don't think a coffin's going to be under there. Why? I guess unless you want the stepmother to hide under Anastasia underground, maybe Anastasia's coffin is under there. So this is similar to season one. You remember when Henry went into a mine shack and then got trapped down there? Anyway, we're having the same thing with Henry and Lucy. Lucy, it's too dangerous for a 10-year-old to run down there. Henry has to supervise her now, go after her because he doesn't want Jacinda. She doesn't want to lose Jacinda's kid. That'd be another mess up of distrust. Anyway, yeah, being a responsible adult, he goes after her in the mine, under in the mine that's under the garden. Well, looks like Detective Rogers is arresting a criminal that's working with Victoria Belfry. I didn't know about it till the show. There's a Seattle Underground. I'm gonna ask about that when I go to Seattle next year. Is there a Seattle Underground? What happened with the Seattle Underground? All right, hang on. He didn't find the graves at all. It was just a road. Yeah, it didn't. That's true. Well, the memories of Henry's family are fake. That is sad. Anyway, all right, true. Could have the wrong address. I think the explanation is that you're cursed, but yes, real world would suggest otherwise. That you're just in the wrong location. I'm gonna find that link for you guys. Hang on. Okay, so now Jacinda's doing the petition thing, right? This is a perfect time to send you the petition I want you guys to sign. Um, just give me a second. The link. I'll put it in the chat. Sign the petition to save this show called. Okay? You sign that petition, okay? Hang on. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Oh, I can't. Wait. Okay, I'm gonna put it on YouTube now. Chat disconnected. Please wait while we try to reconnect you. Successfully. Okay. That's interesting. YouTube says the chat is disconnected. That's interesting. Okay. Sign this. That's funny. Yes, yes, yes. If Victoria and or Jacinda find Henry down there with Lucy, he could go to jail and she could go to boarding school. That's definitely the worst case scenario. I mean, Henry didn't like steal her. Lucy willingly chose to go down there, and Henry just wanted to be the responsible adult and follow her, protect her from falling rocks and whatever. Anyway, so here I sent you guys the petition. Click the link and sign it, please. Save the way home. I wish we could say the same for Once Upon a Time, which is what we're watching, and more related to what we're watching, but that show ended like 8 years ago. It's kind of too late. For The Way Home, it's not too late. It's still on the air, but it will not be on the air for very long. Lucy's upset that Henry won't believe in fairy tales, and she's like, "Well, if you won't believe in fairy tales, maybe my mom will. I'm going to show her the glass slipper." Anyway, looks like Cinderella in flashback is breaking into her mother's house or castle. So what's been happening lately? We didn't miss much since I sent that petition. So yes, so Jacinda found out that Lady Tremaine killed her father. So that is true. Cinderella's not the only one with an evil queen and Rumpelstiltskin, but Lady Tremaine has her own magical friends. Like I'm not gonna spoil because we haven't been introduced to her magical friends yet. So wow, Lady Tremaine is so evil. She threatens Cinderella right now. You're like, either take Henry's heart and give it to me, or I will destroy everyone. So it's either Henry or everyone. What is Cinderella gonna do? But it turns out Anastasia, Cinderella's other stepsister that isn't Drizella, is dead, but somehow her body's perfectly preserved because she used magic to protect her last breath. So that's why she can't decay. And anyway, it was probably scary to me too when Lady Tremaine first opened Anastasia's coffin, but she's fully reserved, so not as gruesome as you think. Anyway, so yes, we're gonna find out how Anastasia died eventually too. A lot of questions will be answered in season 7, and they only have one season to answer it all, which is a little too fast. You need to give us more seasons with these characters, honestly. Burn the petition? I wouldn't. Luckily, everything is so digital now. Like, you can't burn the way home petition at all. There's no way to do that. Man, they gotta stop that show from canceling. No. Jacinda really doesn't want to burn the petition. She knows Lucy loves the garden, but, you know, Victoria gave her an offer she can't refuse. Oh my goodness. Victoria's a really good bully. She can really let people down. Yeah, wow. Lucy's so disappointed in what she just did. I mean, Victoria Belfry knew this would happen on purpose. She knew it would keep Lucy apart from her. Man, goodness, what an evil stepmother that is. Rogers, who just arrested a guy, Weaver just set him free. Rogers is a little upset. Mhm. Rogers messed up big time on his case with the missing girl. But anyway, arrested the wrong guy. But anyway, he's really trying to help bring Victoria down as bring Victoria Belfry down. Roger, uh, uh, Detective Weaver was not there when Officer Rogers and Henry and Ronnie teamed up. He wasn't there. He does not know what's going on. They don't. He doesn't know about the team up they have on bringing Victoria Belfry down. So yeah, and Cinderella loves Henry too much to take out his heart. So he doesn't want Lady Tremaine to kill him or whatever to bring Anastasia back. She's gonna take someone else's heart. Luckily, the Regina being almost a mother to Ella, stops her from taking another person's heart. So just because someone would give up their life for the resistance doesn't mean you should act. That doesn't create the excuse of you pulling their heart out and giving it to Lady Tremaine. It's still wrong. It took Regina a long time to learn that. That's true. She made a lot of wrong choices, but she's been making right ones. Mhm. Yeah. For someone who probably only watched season 7 and not the first 6 seasons, you're probably wondering where Snow and Charming is because we have the evil queen here, but yeah, you gotta watch the first 6 seasons. And by the way, Regina is older than Snow White and Charming, so it wouldn't make sense for her to be alive if they're not. So anyway, you would have to again watch the first 6 seasons to understand where these how these old characters are the way they are. As far as new characters go, which is most of everyone here in season 7, just not Rumple, Regina, and Huck, they're not in the first 6 seasons. So this is why you could jump into the show from season 7 and not be confused because you don't need the knowledge of the first 6 seasons. Even people who saw the show for the first time with season 7, they didn't question the evil queen being in the resistance and stuff. So yeah, Jacinda's always had a hard time standing up to her stepmother. Yep. When you have bullies like Victoria Belfry, if you can't stand up for yourself, and you have bullies like Victoria Belfry, they could take everything from you if you let them. So, what are you willing to give up? What are you going to do to stand up for yourself? Give up your pride of cowardness? Lucy is so disappointed in her mother right now, and Henry's trying to cheer her up. But luckily, looks like Jacinda's trying to make up for her bad decision of burning the petition. Yeah, what is it about? Why'd you burn it in the first place? They're not just going to sign it again. You have to come up with good hope speech. Lucy always believed in the garden. Hmm. You got to remember, not every person's a fairy tale character, though. Some of these are people from the real world, and so you're trying to convince both. You're trying to convince both real world people and fairy tale people to save the garden. Well, they're all real world people now because it's the curse. But I'm just saying, not everyone believes in hope. So anyway, good speech, Linda. Sign the petition. Sign the one I sent in the comments. Let's save and let's save a newer TV show. Yes, we know, Regina. You don't need to keep bringing up your past evil queen self up. Hmm. Yeah. Even Cinderella wants Henry to go back home. Interesting. Well, we know he doesn't. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in Seattle if he went back to Storybrooke. Yeah, that is true. Her name is not really Cinderella. It was a nickname given by her stepmother and sisters. Yep. Yep. I've been actually accidentally calling her Ella a few times too. I just didn't want to do it until you guys knew what her real name was. Yeah, it's not Cinderella like the Disney version. It's Ella. Same thing for the first 6 seasons are Cinderella from seasons 1 through 6 is also Ella. Mhm. Nickname. Yeah, Ella almost got caught in the well, no, what's the phrase I'm trying to say? Ella almost got in trouble by Tiana, who's the leader of the resistance, and if she found out that she ran away to sneak into Lady Trina's mansion, she probably would have been kicked out of the resistance. And so, luckily, Regina saved her as a future mother-in-law, and used the excuse of one of her magic mirrors, and so that way, Tiana doesn't ask further questions on Ella. But yeah, yeah, I mean, if the evil queen can stand up for Ella can stand up to Lady Tremaine. That's the lesson here. Just like they're doing in Seattle, they're trying to stand up to Victoria. They could stand up to her in Fairytale Land, which you would probably say they did because that's what they did. Again, them defeating Lady Tremaine is definitely a flashback we could have had, but not enough for a canceled show after season 7. Can't get flashbacks on everything that happened in the past. There will always be puzzle pieces missing, but at least you'll get the gist of it by the end of the season. Yeah. Henry's watching Jacinda and Lucy living happily ever after saving the garden and stopping Victoria Belfry again. So first we see Ronnie stand up to Victoria, then we see Weaver, and now we're seeing Jacinda standing up to Victoria Belfry. Looks like she can't win anymore. She can't kick people out. Looks like people are standing up for what they believe is right. Victoria is failing to control the town. I mean, control the city. Henry finally found the graveyard, actually. And is the curse gonna prove that his family's not real, or is it gonna make it things even more harder? Let's find out. Found a piece of the glass slipper in the mines with Lucy, huh? It's just a piece of glass, according to his beliefs. It doesn't mean anything. But it's the slipper. Piece of the slipper. Abigail Mills, Lauren Mills. Those are his fake wife and daughter. Abigail's the fake daughter. Lauren is the fake wife. Man, his pain of losing them in a fire is coming back to him to haunt him. Anyway, how sad. Unfortunately, little does he know that's not his real family. That's just fake people, gravestones. Nor, there's no bodies under those graves. It's just random tombstones and fake memories. That's what curse does. What is under that cloth, huh? Right? What is under that cloth? I mean, of course, if it's something very bad, he wouldn't let uh well, Victoria wouldn't let her workers find out in case she might get her arrested. Mhm. She did not wanna come on screen. She did not wanna come into the light, and then Victoria forced her into it. "Tick-tock of your tower? What does that mean?" We're being introduced to a new character. She had to hide it so she wouldn't get in trouble by local people. That's Anastasia from the flashback, remember? We all know it's her preserved body. They wanna bring Anastasia back from the dead, and it will. Yeah. I mean, this girl that we're being introduced that Victoria has locked away in a little, dungeon up here, whatever this is. So Victoria's, yep, I mean, Victoria does have this lady locked up, so she is a prisoner, but, as I said, this lady is not who you think she is. She's not just some girl captured by Lady Tremaine or Victoria. She's actually an evil witch, and look what she's prophesying right now. So, in order to bring, uh yeah. So, okay, sorry, I didn't wanna interrupt what she was saying, but, this episode's about to end, so hang on before I continue talking. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, credits are rolling. Okay, so from what we just learned, there's a new witch in town, and she seems powerless because she's locked away, but she's not. Once she breaks free, she prophesied this. Once she breaks free, um, once she breaks free, Victoria may get. She needs to surrender Lucy's belief. She needs Lucy's belief in fairy tales in order to bring Anastasia back from the dead. She needs to take her belief away. Anyway, and the prophecy witch said that you may get Lucy's belief. You may bring back Anastasia from the dead, but then you'll have to deal with me. Ha 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 ha. So there's a bigger villain, ultimate endgame villain, endgame, like entire season 7 villain at play here. You think Victoria is the villain here because that's how it was with Regina in season 1. She cast the curse, she's the villain. Um and I'm still telling you that don't jump to conclusions. There's still no indication that Victoria cast the curse. Lady Tremaine, I'm not gonna for spoiler purposes, I'm not gonna say much, but Lady Tremaine, may not be the person who cast the curse. And you still don't know who cast the curse, but you do know that she isn't the main protagonist. She isn't the main antagonist of the season. They wanted you to think that for the first 3 episodes, but now they just revealed to us that our big endgame villain is this witch who's locked up and is only doing what Victoria says because she's locked up. But once she breaks free, a lot of heck will break loose. So anyway, yes, and she just apparently another plot twist is that didn't just want to. She didn't just want to make condos. She wanted to destroy the garden. She wanted to destroy the garden just to, just to dig up a dead body underground under the garden. Apparently, maybe that used to be a gravesite. I don't know why. I don't know why a body is buried under the garden. But anyway, the Seattle garden. But anyway, all Lady Tremaine wanted was to, we found out that she's awake and she's not cursed, and so she literally called Jacinda Cinderella, so that proves it, right? Cinderella and her friends stopped her, so yeah, she failed to make condos. They stopped her because they made a petition and the community won, right? So they're not going to destroy the garden. And I hope they don't cancel the way home. So hopefully you sign that petition as well. But anyway, off topic. Sorry. Anyway, so the petition won, and Jacinda and Lucy got to keep the garden. Even though Lady Tremaine failed at making condos, while she didn't fail entirely. She exceeded enough to when they were destroying the garden, she was able to dig up a dead body before they used the petition against her. So anyway, she may have not built the condos, but she did get what she wanted after all. So she didn't technically, her plans did not derive or anything. All she wanted was the dead body underneath, and it's her daughter Anastasia, and her and this witch. This witch has a fairy tale name, but I'm not going to spoil it because it hasn't been revealed yet. But this witch and Victoria Belfry are wanting to bring Anastasia back from the dead. So anyway, again, plot building. We're just plot building in this season. So first we learned Henry went off to find his own story. He met Cinderella. Somehow they got married and had a kid. And we were now cursed in Seattle. And then we find out how not Rumple, we're still figuring that out. But then we found out how Regina and Hook got here and to join Henry in Seattle. How they left Storybrooke to be in the new fairy tale land and got cursed in Seattle as well. We also got to say we found out how Hook, right, is not with Emma Swan. That's because it's not the one who married Emma Swan. It's a different version of Captain Hook. Because of this, we got to say goodbye to our Captain Swan ship. Captain Hook and Emma Swan did make a return, but they came to just say goodbye to adult Henry. And so anyway, we have that confrontation resolved. And then we found out Victoria's real plans here. We found out she wants to bring Anastasia back from the dead, and she everyone got and there's no telling on who cast the curse yet, but according to Victoria, she came to Seattle to hopefully bring Anastasia back from the dead. In flashback form, she's doing the same thing, trying to bring Anastasia back from the dead by stealing Henry's heart. Trying to get Cinderella to do it, but Cinderella didn't plead into her. So we got to see Ella stand up for herself. We got to see Ronnie stand up for herself, and we got to see Weaver stand up to Victoria Belfry. So anyway, everyone's learning to stand up to her and not be bullied by her. So anyway, what a start to season 7. We're going to call it a night. Like I said, we're not going to talk off your ear. I'm not going to talk off your ear for 15 minutes. I'm sorry for already doing it for 5 minutes. This episode ended at 9:18. 3 minutes passed from when the live stream was supposed to end. It was supposed to end at 9:15. But anyway, now I've talked to you till 9:23. So I'm going to call it there. Have a great night. Until next week. I want to say one more thing before I end the stream. Next week we have All Hallows Eve episode. I know. Happy Mother's Day for people this weekend. I know I know we're approaching Mother's Day, but we have a Halloween episode next week. And so inappropriate to have Halloween in May, but that'll be fun. We'll get to learn more about Tiana and more on Regina the Evil Queen. So I'm just giving you a heads up of what to look forward to next week. I'm not trying to spoil anything. I'm just telling you what the episodes are focused on. We're going to get a Tiana-centered episode, a Princess Tiana-centered episode. We're going to get a Regina-centered episode, and a Halloween episode. So, until next week, bye, y'all! As always, I'll end Facebook first. And Facebook was 2 hours and 26 minutes. Wow. Still pretty much 15 minutes shorter than the previous live streams we've had. Though we didn't start 10 minutes early, so I don't get how that's the case. All right. Now I'm going to end YouTube. Until next week. Again, 2 hours and 26 minutes. Cool. Almost 27 minutes for YouTube. YouTube, you're 1 minute longer than Facebook. All right. Anyway, bye, y'all. Until next week.